Alright, continuing. Now, we've already established that Goku and Vegeta are about to do battle. This is where we're going to take another little trip back through history. See, it's been established that the Saiyans are a warrior class of people. That they go around destroying land, taking it at a whim, selling it to the highest bidder, so on and so forth. And also they have a system of strength and a slight caste system. Essentially, with the highest ranking being the most powerful and the ruling class. Not too much unlike the Huns. The most powerful became their leader. Um, there's some serious differences, though. That's a fact, but not too terribly dissimilar. But anyways, I digress. This being established, when you saw how powerful Nappa was, and you saw how powerful Vegeta was, I mean, this guy is essentially the best of the best. He's in the royal family. He is going to be one of the toughest Saiyans out there, period. To say nothing of one of the toughest who's ever lived. Now, interesting to note, a very interesting little side note here, is that he then makes it very clear to Goku why it is he was sent to Earth. Because when they tested him at birth to see how strong he showed almost no potential. He was obscenely weak. He was quite possibly one of the weakest Saiyans ever born. Which is why he was sent to a planet full of people with power levels about as large as their infants. you know? He was considered to be the most worthless of the worthless trash. It's why Bardock was almost downright ashamed of him when he saw that. It's who Goku was. So this really sets up the level of humiliation and rage that Vegeta feels later. Okay? Now, when the two of them begin to fight, Goku's holding back. He's trying to gauge his opponent's strength. He's trying to get an idea of how powerful he is, and also trying to avoid using up too much energy in case he still has to do something later. Now, the problem is, it's getting him nowhere at all. He can't even keep up with this guy. He can't even hardly see his movements. Nothing. Vegeta is just tap dancing all over him. So he's forced to use the Kaioken. The Kaioken, which we saw what it was able to do when he was facing Nappa. I mean, not only was he able to zip over fast enough to hit Nappa before he could travel a very short distance, but it also allowed him to go fast enough to get frigging under him and catch him before he hit the ground after being assisted by being slammed in the back. And even this, with that strength boost, with that speed boost, Vegeta's still managing to beat him. So he has to go ×2, and it's getting him closer, but it's still not quite enough. And that is the highest limit he was supposed to go to. So he has to break a rule. He has to do what he was told not to do, and go ×3. Once he does that, he's able to finally beat the crud out of Vegeta, and oh my gosh, the fact that he's even hurting him is enough to seriously tick Vegeta off. But when he actually manages to draw blood, he snaps. Nobody's been able to make Vegeta bleed like that before. This is not some low class anyway. It's not something he is used to seeing. Especially from someone who's supposed to be a worthless piece of trash. So he does snap. He loses it. He decides he's going to wipe everyone out. He cannot handle this. His entire worldview, everything that he has believed about himself and his race, is being shattered right in front of him, and he can't handle it. So he elects to wipe everyone out. And what happens? Goku not only has to activate the Kaioken ×3 again, but in order to overpower Vegeta, has to go up even higher, ×4. Twice what he was supposed to go over, or twice what he was supposed to limit himself to, and severely injures himself because of it. And this is kind of important to realize that Goku has just had to push himself way beyond what he was supposed to have been able to handle, well beyond his safety limits. And he and Vegeta still manages to survive mostly unscathed, with mostly his pride hurt. Okay? This is bad. So Vegeta elects to go ape, turn into the Uzaru. Can't find the moon, goes back down. First and foremost, is convinced that Goku tried to destroy the moon, which has him even more angry. But then shows him a little technique that they can create an energy ball that has the same effect as the moonlight on them, which is the certain amount of blood sweat is being created when the moon reflects the sunlight. It's a type of radiation that's created during that. So on and so forth. Very technical explanation. Very well explained too. But it's interesting because it's something that so many people seem to miss. Everyone seems to think Vegeta's power level jumped up to 180,000 or something because it was 18,000. This is just a little geek fact. You can ignore this. But Vegeta's power dropped quite a bit when he did that. He even said it would. Goku even noticed it. So it did drop him by a good chunk. Which Goku didn't understand why he'd do that because it could cost him the fight. Which means it's probably a pretty big drop. But then he transforms and that more than makes up for it. 10 times the power. So Goku now has to face the Uzaru. Now, here's where another little interesting facet of Goku's past comes in. That giant ape is the exact same creature that was described to him by his grandfather all those years ago. The one that he said always came out during a full moon, which is why Goku had to stay inside and go to sleep, so that the monster wouldn't come and get him. And Goku knows that that monster is what stomped his grandfather to death. And so he realizes that he is, in fact, the one who killed his own grandfather. The one thing that had always upset him more than anything was losing his grandfather when he was a child. When he saw his grandfather again, he was so happy he started openly bawling. He loved his grandpa more than anything, and he killed him. So that is one thing that really strengthened his resolve to beat him, was knowing this and what Vegeta, knowing what he had done is that, and what Vegeta had done is that, and yeah, it had a serious effect on him. So he tried fighting him, assuming, which is natural, that because this opponent is large, big, he's going to be slower. That if he uses his speed to his advantage, he can maybe, excuse me, maybe hit and run. But he finds out real fast that Vegeta is actually quite fast. Very strong, very fast. He's improved in every way in this form. Not surprising, seeing as this is where their true power was supposed to have been. Now, so Goku figures he's only got one chance left. One chance. Uses the Taioken, or for those of you who don't know what that is, the solar flare, and starts trying to charge up a spirit bomb, which it does buy him time. It does, to gather the energy for the spirit bomb. Meanwhile, while this is going on, Gohan and Krillin, who are flying back to the Kame house, happen to see that the giant ball of light is up in the sky. The artificial moon. And Gohan can't quite understand why, but something deep down in his gut keeps telling him that that means something bad is happening. So he elects to go back, and Krillin, not willing to let him go alone, follows him. Meanwhile, while they're on their way back to the battlefield, Goku finally gathers up all the energy he needed for the Spirit Bomb, prepares to throw it, and unfortunately, just in time, Vegeta manages to find him and fire off a blast, which, yeah, darn near kills him. And from there, proceeds to toy with him. Breaks his bones, snaps his legs, picks him up and starts squeezing him, breaking ribs. Wow. He is pretty much deciding he's not just going to kill him, he's going to punish him. So Gohan and Krillin arrive, along with Yajirobe, who's been there watching this whole time, too scared to actually do anything. And they decide that the only way that they're going to be able to do anything about this is to cut Vegeta's tail off. So Gohan goes up front, tries to create a distraction. Krillin sneaks up from behind, tries to do a Kienzan, cut his tail off. Interestingly enough, too, had that Kienzan actually hit, it would not have just cut the tail off. It would have cut the, it probably would have cut him in half, too, with the angle that it was flying at. So, oh, sorry. So that actually could have very well not only cut off Vegeta's tail, but cut Vegeta in half. Still, actually cutting him in half was a bit more than they thought they could hope for. They were just going for the tail. That was that. However, both because he kind of knew Gohan wouldn't come alone and because he heard the buzz with his improved hearing, Vegeta manages to dodge it. However, what he can't hear coming over the sound of his own bragging over his brilliance is Yajirobe sneaking up, and Yajirobe manages to cut his tail off and run like the Dickens, which shrinks Vegeta back down to normal. So Vegeta, in a fit of rage, starts attacking Gohan, starts attacking Goku, starts attacking everybody. Goku tells Gohan to try to hold him off for a while, calls Krillin over to him, gives him the Spirit Bomb because he's the only person who's capable of controlling it right now. And while Gohan is fighting Vegeta and frankly getting the crud kicked out of him, putting up a decent fight but still getting the crud kicked out of him, Krillin is supposed to try to aim it at Vegeta, lock on and fire it. Now, King Kai shows up to give him instructions on how to do it, to lock onto his energy, feel his target rather than see it. Which he does. And when he finally gets it, he throws it. The Spirit Bomb, which is supposed to be their last chance, flies right at him. But not before Yajirobe again had to open his mouth and alert Vegeta to the fact that Krillin was over there with the big glowing ball. So he sees it flying right at him. He times his jump accordingly, jumps over it. It has to smack into Gohan and bounce off him and fly back up to Vegeta. Hits him. He goes flying up into the air, screaming. Comes slamming back down into the ground. They figure he's dead. They go over there to bury him. Turns out Vegeta's not dead. Vegeta is, however, extremely damaged and very ticked off. Does an explosive wave trying to kill them all. Doesn't quite do it, but wow. Shows how much power he still has left. Yajirobe frickin' comes over there, slices him in the back with his sword. He manages to survive it. Let's see here, what else? Gohan manages to try to fight him a little bit more. Doesn't work. Then Goku gets an idea when he sees Gohan's tail has grown back. Tells him to look up at the artificial moon. Gohan does it, turns big, starts smashing. Vegeta tries to cut off his tail. But doesn't really make much difference because Gohan winds up falling down right on top of him and crushing him. So completely beaten, completely battered, completely broken, Vegeta has to retreat for the first time in his life. And we're going to stop there for now.